And welcome to Parenting on Empty. This is podcast number 10. And today's podcast, we're going to talk about parenting teenagers.
One of the things that I have been struck by in handling a 14-year-old, and she's just kind of still in those beginning stages of teenagehood, is she looks like an adult and frequently talks like an adult, and once in a while acts like an adult. And it's very easy for me to fall into the trap into thinking that she is an adult. And so I start expecting adult consistency, adult maturity, adult attitudes, adult communication, adult responsibility. And I find myself disappointed regularly because she's not an adult.
Right, and part of that, I think, is that you are ready for her to be an adult. We've had this child for 13 years, and so we're ready for the child to make the next transition. I'm looking forward to being able to reason with this person and have some discussion and come to some conclusions based on some fairly coherent discussions on how we should deal with this. What do you think? And what's the responsible thing to do?
Yeah, and I actually think it's a legitimate thing to expect her to be able to have intelligent discussions and be able to listen and reason and talk about stuff
exactly
in a more grown-up sort of way. But for me, what I have had to really begin to kind of retrain myself, whatever, is recognizing that while she is in the budding stages of moving towards becoming an adult, she is not one. And so when I give her responsibilities, she still is going to be very childlike in her dispensing of those responsibilities and in her accepting of them. She's not going to embrace them and probably is not going to smile. There will be a little attitude that frequently goes along with it. Really? I have to help out? Isn't the whole world about me? And I realize that some adults never even grow out of that. But it just takes me by surprise regularly that you're old enough. You should know better. You should be grown out of this. So I don't know if it's an impatience or if it's we're just ready for her to be an adult. I don't necessarily want her to be older than what she is. And I don't want her to be even necessarily different than where she is right now in the stage that she's in. But I do have to try to figure out what that means. That she, they say if it quacks like a duck and it walks like a duck, it probably is a duck. Well, she has a lot of traits that look very adultish, but she is not an adult.
Right.
And so I feel like parenting a teenager is like walking a very fine line. You don't want to treat them like children because they usually rise to the level of expectation. But at the same point, you don't want your expectations to be so high that you regularly are being disappointed and you find yourself frustrated and angry because the child is not meeting expectation.
Exactly. It gets me to the, what's the point? Why are we having this conversation? What's the deal here? And I think that's the deal, is that we're trying to get to that point where you realize you have to, you don't have to, but it's important to accept where they are. And the whole concept of this is that you approach this relationship with, okay, what's going on? What's happening here? And begin to gain some understanding about what's going on so you don't have those feelings of anger, those feelings of bitterness. Because to me, the whole point is that you don't alienate the relationship. That the teenage years doesn't have to be a time where we go our separate ways and words are said that you cannot repair, that you cannot take back, and things are done that you'll never forget, that you'll always remember, and the issues that you'll have. And we've certainly had experience with that, talking with friends and family and whatnot who have gone through issues with teenagers, and things have happened that have done sometimes damage that can't be repaired or takes a long, long time to repair. I think you can have the attitude of, let's do our best to keep a close relationship, to keep the lines of communication open, and to avoid some major issues, major conflicts.
One of the ways that I am trying to do that is when I find myself communicating to Mariah specifically about maintaining the home kinds of things. I feel very strongly that we're a family unit, and it is not one person's responsibility to maintain the home. It's all of ours. And so we share responsibility. And she is old enough now that she can vacuum and she can dust and she can wash dishes right up there with me. When you're 4 or 5, you can do little bits of that, but usually then an adult has to come along behind and redo everything that the child has done. So I will ask her specifically to do something, and then I have to tell myself in my mind, she's still, even though she looks like she's understanding what you're saying and she seems to be receiving it, and she looks like she should be old enough to be able to carry this through the way you intend it to be carried through, remember, she still frequently thinks like a child and still has that self-centeredness of a child. She's not looking outside of herself.
Right.
And so I have to follow up. And in the follow-up, instead of getting angry if things don't turn out right or feeling personally insulted, like, are you just trying to scrape through and do as little as possible, and that's being defiant to me, recognizing she doesn't see a big picture. She's very literal. And if I ask her to do a half inch of work, she's only going to do a half inch of work unless I am very specific and say that half inch of work also includes this, that, and the other thing.
Right.
And even then, she may forget before the job is over. And it's difficult for me not to take that personally and say, in my brain, are you just trying to make my life more difficult? Why do I have to follow up on this? You're 14. You should be able to do this on your own. I was doing this kind of stuff when I was 14.
Right, yeah.
And for me, the way of keeping the line of communication open is making sure that I'm calm and then going and talking to her and asking her, what did I ask you to do? Did you do it? And then believing her if she says yes, recognizing that she truly believes that she did it.
Right.
And then taking her back and pointing out, here's why I don't think you did what I asked. And if there was a miscommunication, then sometimes I have to adjust the way I communicate. Sometimes it's just a matter of they don't see. And your sister did something that I thought was really smart, and you talked about it to me a little while ago. When she would ask her girls to clean the kitchen, and then she'd come in and they'd say it was clean, and she would look around and she'd say, this is not what I call clean. So she cleaned the kitchen one time and she took pictures of the counters and of the table and put them up on the wall. And she told her girls, this is what I mean when I say clean the kitchen. It needs to look like this when you leave.
Yeah, good communication. Let me get back to that issue that you had mentioned as far as not taking things personally, because when a job is not done the way you anticipated it to be done, or something doesn't happen the way you thought it should happen and you thought you communicated clearly, then there is that temptation to take that personally. Are you disrespecting my authority? Why aren't you listening to me? Why don't you pay attention to me? And to me, that does take a good deal of self-talk, of self-speak, of reminding yourself, okay, this is a stage that she's going through, and I don't have to take it personally. And an issue that I had was of that driving her around everywhere and becoming, the taxi cab service, and the lack of appreciation that goes along with it. And so you pull up to the youth group, and she says, "Okay, see you," and pops out the door, and she's looking as you're driving up. She's looking for her friends, and her focus is what's going to happen next. And as soon as you stop the car, the door bolts open, and off they go. Don't even turn around and say thanks, love you, anything like that. So yeah, it's the temptation is to really take that personal and to realize that no, it's not about you, the parent. It isn't an affront to you. That's a stage in life, and hopefully down the road the rewards will come because you've been faithful and you've been a servant. But again, that's not the time to have this personal affront and to lash out, or to say, you know what, you don't even appreciate what I'm doing. You are so self-centered, and to all of a sudden go on this rant to your teenager because you feel like you've been personally affronted.
Yeah, and I think that's actually what puts up a lot of walls with teens, because we do react situationally. Mm-hmm. We react in the moment. And I think good parenting, and I don't always practice this because I also want to respond in the moment to the moment, but I think good parenting, and it's what I strive for, is recognizing in the long run, what are we trying to instill in our child? And in that situation, one of the things that we work on with our kids, both of them, is teaching them appropriate gratitude.
Correct.
Appropriate thankfulness, respect, polite behavior. When someone gives you a gift, you thank them for it. It doesn't matter what it was, even if it's something you didn't ever really want, something that you don't know what it is, you still thank them because they gave you a gift out of appreciation, love, whatever.
Correct.
When someone does something for you, you always thank them. And Mariah, our teenager, is actually a very grateful and thankful teenager.
She is.
She regularly thanks us for things when we have allowed her to have a sleepover, or when we've had a party for her, a birthday party or whatever, and she's been able to have friends over. She regularly thanks us. We have not raised an ungrateful child, but she has not yet reached a level of maturity. And again, it's that inconsistency that she has one foot in the adult world and one foot in the child world, where she still doesn't think every time about the other person.
Right, exactly, yeah.
And that her focus is still very much her and her friends, and acceptance, and what are they going to think about me, and anticipating it. We have to do, you mentioned practicing self-talk, and I think we have to do two things, one of which is ask ourselves, what's the long-term goal to teach her thankfulness? Is confronting her on her getting out of the car without saying thank you, is that really going to achieve our long-term goal? Or is it going to create a wall between us and her because we're upset about it?
Exactly.
Or are there other ways to develop a thankful spirit, a thankful heart, that will manifest itself more consistently as she develops and matures and grows into adulthood?
Exactly.
And obviously it's the second one that we're going for, the developing a thankful heart. And so telling ourselves regularly as she slams the door in your face without saying goodbye or thank you, she is a thankful child.
She is. She's a very thankful child, and she communicates that quite regularly, which I'm very thankful for, because one of the things we've talked about is that Mariah, she is very good at communicating, very good at talking about things that have happened. She comes home from school and talks about things that have happened with her friends and things they're doing, and a lot of times it's even more information than we want. It's just lots of information of all the little things that are going on, which is great. And she's very good at that, but sometimes I personally get duped into thinking she is she's communicating herself. And we've had this conversation before where in reality she's giving us facts, things that happen. She's making observations, but not necessarily telling us what's going on inside of her head, some of the struggles she's facing, and often some of the anxieties that she has, worries and things. She doesn't necessarily tell us about that or specifically talk to me about that. I've had conversations with her that there's nothing that she could do that would cause me to reject her, that would cause me to alienate myself from her, and to reassure her that she is accepted. So I really try to keep those lines of communication open with her to let her know that whatever happens or whatever she's thinking, that she has freedom to communicate whatever is on her mind. And that's one of the things I try to regularly communicate to her. That obviously doesn't guarantee that, now that you've given me the freedom, the license to talk, I'm going to spill my guts, which that doesn't happen.
It doesn't. And, I think one of the reasons is there is kind of an inborn fear with parents. I mean, I had parents who loved me. They always affirmed me and what I did, but I was afraid if I told them something or if I did something, certain things. I mean, it's a typical phrase for kids to say, my parents are going to kill me.
Right.
If you confronted them on that, very few of them ever actually believe that their parents are really going to kill them. But the thing is that we want to please our parents. It's sort of an instinctive thing. And you want your parents to be happy with you and proud of you. And there is a fear that if you tell them your fears, your thoughts, your worries, your desires, that will change their perspective in one way or the other.
Right.
And I think it's good to lay the groundwork the way you're saying. You can tell us anything. We will love you no matter what happens, etc. But I think more than that, not more than that, I think added to that, you have to ask very pointed questions of your teen and then spend a lot of time listening. And you're way better at this than I am. You're not better at asking the questions. You're better at just letting her talk and not correcting her.
Right. So you ask the questions and I'll listen.
That's a good idea.
So you could just ask her the questions, walk away, do whatever it is you need to do. I'll stick around and listen.
We'll have to do the tag team approach.
Take notes.
Because I listen, but I want to fix it. And right now, one of my biggest fears with her is once you get into your teen years, particularly girls, they're very interested in boys. And Mariah's perspective on boys is very romantic.
I've told her boys are stupid, boys are icky, boys are dumb.
And she does not believe you.
She does not believe me?
No.
It's very discouraging. Yes.
Yeah. So we need to be asking specific questions about the boys that are around her and what she thinks of them and how she's interacting with them. But when she starts replying, I want to tell her, okay, see, when a boy does that, this is what it means. And you need to stop talking to him. And that's not very helpful.
No.
And you're a little bit better, although when it comes to boys, you're not a lot better than I am.
No,
you want
I'm not.
to interfere
No.
and tell her what to think and how to behave.
Exactly.
But in general, when it is pretty much any other topic, you are better about just listening and accepting that that's the way she sees the world.
Right.
And I think it's really important that, yes, you establish we have open lines of communication. We will accept you, love you, whatever you have to tell us. But at the same time, recognizing that there is just an instinctive fear that inhibits communication. And so you ask very specific, very pointed questions and be ready to just listen and wait.
Right.
And maybe ask more questions and maybe have to ask the question every day for a month before you get a true unedited answer.
Right. Yeah, that's very good advice. For me, I think my plan is do whatever it takes to stay close. Do whatever it takes to have a close relationship. And what I mean by that is sometimes that's just proximity. Just be there. So whatever she's doing, be there. Certainly that's very important. If she's playing volleyball, I'll be there at all the games, as many games as I possibly can. Or if she's in track, I'll be there to watch as many games, just to be there. And when she's coming off the field or off the court, she's excited or discouraged or whatever state of mind, she's going to talk, and you've got to be there. And if you're there, obviously you can be the sounding board, and there's another opportunity to communicate, another opportunity to have a conversation. Here's what I did, and it was part of my evil master plan, because I knew that she was getting interested in music. There was a time when she wanted to start a rock band because there was a cute boy who played the guitar, and she wanted to hang out with the boy. And so that was her plan. Oh, hey, well, let's start a rock band. Then we could have rehearsals, and I can sit and stare at you. So I followed up on that with her interest in music, and she wanted to learn to play. I played the guitar, and she wanted to learn how to play, and she was asking me how do you form the G chord and the C chord and things like that. And so I really followed up on that. And for Christmas, we got her an electric guitar, and she loved it. She said, "Oh, that is so great." And we start practicing together and learning songs, and that's going to continue to be my evil master plan, is we get together and we learn songs and we play songs. And it doesn't matter what songs she wants to play, we'll work on them, and we can get together, and it's something she wants to do, and she talks to me about, well, how do you do this chord, and how can you play the G chord without using so many fingers, and all these different conversations that we have. And I'm in her presence, close proximity. And it's a non-punitive kind of situation where you're not having to guide her in instructional stuff. Right.
You're just telling her what she wants to hear.
Exactly.
So she asks, how do you do this chord? You tell her how to do the chord, and then you guys play something together.
Right.
And so you are kind of just coming alongside her and inhabiting her world. But it's a little bit crafty. You call it your evil plan, because it wasn't really a world that she had planned exactly. It's you figured out what the world was that she had planned, and you kind of modified that and made it something that fits into what we think is healthy for her.
Mm-hmm.
And it's healthy to learn a musical instrument. It's healthy to spend time disciplining yourself to get better at the musical instrument. So we want to encourage that.
But yeah, it gets you together. And so no matter what it is, and if you're listening to this and you're thinking, well, what is it that I can do? What can I teach? What kind of hobby can we have together? I don't know. Obviously, I was thinking, well, what could I do? And this is what I came up with. And it's so far it seems to be working.
Well, you've done other things, and I was telling you earlier that you are at a place in your life where the things that you do and who you are, she's far more interested in that than she is in what I do. And you are an incredible artist, and you have this app on your phone that is a draw app, and she has it on her phone. And so now she's doing this back and forth with you where you draw something and you send it to her, and she has to figure out what it is. She figures it out and she draws something back. Again, it's a very non-confrontive, non-invasive kind of communication where you're just together, where she's thinking about you,
exactly,
where she's interacting with you. And it's a very healthy and creative kind of outlet.
Exactly right.
Sometimes I think just getting them through adolescence is part of the goal, getting them through intact, because there are so many bad choices that they can make that are devastating. And they, again, with that foot in both worlds, they make a decision based on that child mind that doesn't see the far-reaching consequences. But the problem is the decision that they make is an adult behavior or it has an adult consequence.
Exactly right.
And it has repercussions that they have no idea. And so if we can just involve our teen in things that are healthy, that will contribute to her further development, and that will just keep her occupied and doing stuff that isn't going to be threatening and isn't going to put her in situations that are not good.
Now that I think about it, I've been pretty fortunate with her because she is kind of a techie girl and she likes techie stuff. And of course, I love that too. And I was thinking she likes making movies too, and just getting her phone, taking pictures and making movies with her, the movie capability with her phone. And so, and I have a background with videography, and so part of it is not to just inundate her with all of these things. Well, you got to do this and this, and you got to have this jib and this lighting gear and all this stuff, but just the real simple things as far as teaching her how to use her phone the best that it can be. You're getting really cool angles that are interesting, and she enjoys that stuff. So it's a bit of a fine dance of not just inundating her with a bunch of information that she doesn't care about. She just wants to make movies. They just want to do fun stuff, and to celebrate that with her, but also just to have those conversations. Here's a great way to make this particular look you want, to make it really cool, or to make this sound really cool. And so I've had those opportunities to have those kind of conversations, and as you have said, she's interested in that. But
the only reason she keeps coming back is you give her a little bit of an answer. She's not looking for a full professional answer as to how do you get the correct lighting for this particular scene. She just wants something that's functional.
Right.
And you do a very good job at balancing giving her enough information so she can operate, but then just coming alongside and helping her do it. So it's way more successful than it would have been if she had just gone on the little bit of information that she got from you.
Right.
And then allowing an imperfect product, which is really hard for most parents. We want the end product to be like an adult had made a lot of times.
Right, yeah.
The project should look like this. Well, you know what? It shouldn't, because if the teenager is the one that's really doing it, it's going to look the way the teenager would have it look.
Exactly. And it may look incredible. It may be the next Picasso or
depending on
Spielberg
the
or whatever it is. But again, I think it's just that process of having those conversations and getting used to conversing. I mean, it's a tragic thing if a kid says, I don't even know how to talk to my parents, because they've never really just done that, never really had any kind of extended conversation. And part of that can be because there's never been those kind of opportunities. How's your day? What'd you do at school? And maybe that's the extent of it. So it really is finding out what is their interest. And, if you aren't knowledgeable about those interests, then that's why God gave us Google. You find out about it. You get on Wikipedia or whatever it is, and you make yourself an expert to the best of your ability on whatever it is that kid's interested in, and you become that source of information.
Yeah, I'm not much of a techie, and because she is so into technology, like now.
By the way, you're talking on the wrong end of the mic. just a little humor. That's a little tech humor.
Tech humor.
I just love tech humor.
And it's so funny.
Yes.
Anyhow, we are taping this when we are not at home. We're on a bit of a retreat, husband and wife. And our daughter is really excited about a Skype app that she got for her phone, so she Skyped us. That would never occur to me. Why would we Skype each other? She Skyped us 2 hours after we left home. And it's okay. Because to me, I'm a real functional. You use technology to get the job done. It's not a way of connecting. It's not a way of communicating. And I'm really having to do a lot of rethinking. When she had her phone, I found that I could text with her and just touch base. When I saw something funny, I would take a picture and send it, or write a little note to her real quickly, and she would get it and she would write back. I'm learning to get more comfortable with technology and finding ways to use the technology to connect with your teenager and not use it, again, as something where you're trying to foist your ideas, your expectations on them, but just allowing them to communicate.
Yes.
And say hello and touch base. The more that you can strengthen that tie now, when there is no real conflict, then when conflict arises, there will be this bedrock of affection, devotion, loyalty, faithfulness that the child and you both can draw on to resolve the conflict.
Right. Yeah, and there are all kinds of things that you can do. And again, we're not going to offer this whole list of things, write this down. But the main point is that if you are just thinking of opportunities to be in front of your kid, to have a conversation, whether that's, hey, let's go on a road trip and we're going to change seats on who sits in the driver's side, during different legs of the trip. So we're just there, physically there, and we can talk to each other and learn how to ask the right questions. And you're right, I don't ask very good questions, but something that I probably need to learn, how to ask good questions, how to ask better questions than I have asked, and become an expert on that. Maybe there's even a Google search for that, how to ask the right questions as a parent of a teenager. I'll have to Google that sometime. I'm sure there's got to be an app that maybe you can just play the app that asks the questions for you. Then all I have to do is play the app and then listen. That's perfect. So if you're an app creator, get on that and I'll be your first customer. I will download that app.
The second thing that I would recap is see the child the way they really are. And that's that while they frequently give the impression of being adults and they want all the rights and privileges of adulthood, that they don't want the responsibility and they're not capable of the responsibility. They don't have the developmental capacity to even think like an adult yet.
Exactly.
So learning to truly see where they are on that continuum and recognize that what you see today is probably not going to be the same thing a week from now.
Right.
Or 2 weeks from now, and that continuum is not always an upward continuum, that they can sometimes take 5 steps forward and be incredibly mature for 3 months, and then all of a sudden take 8 steps back and revert to, 6. And
exactly, yeah.
that's all just part of their development, and it's not anything personal, it's not anything defiant, it's just a developmental thing. And so acknowledge that, and then meet them where they are.
Right.
And continue to communicate about, here's what I think is a legitimate expectation for a person your age. Here's what I would like you to be doing. And if I miscommunicated, I'm sorry about that, but now we're clear. So I would like you to follow through on whatever it is that I'm asking you to do.
Exactly. This is a continuing conversation. It's not over yet. I mean, it's over now for tonight, but it's not over yet. So, the next podcast on parenting teenagers may be completely different. We may say, that one that you heard earlier, forget about that. Here's what we have to say about it now. But as it stands now, we're going to go with what we said, right?
I'm there.
Right. Okay.
I'm there.
Good. And then we'll see what happens tomorrow.